want to talk tonight about Executive Order 14300. I'll refer to it in the future as the order rather than that long name. The executive order was signed by the president in May of 2025. The order stated, among other things, that the NRC's basis for its radiation protection standards rely on models that lack solid scientific basis and produce irrational results. The order also said that the NRC's reliance on the linear no threshold model, LNT model, for radiation exposure and its companion as low as reasonably achievable, ALARA, which is predicated on the LNT model, are flawed. The order also directs the NRC to consider work with the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. The NRC has already done that with those agencies and many, many others across the globe. So the NRC has, this question has been asked and answered of the NRC, and the answer is always the LNT and ALAR are the best way to go. First, some background on the linear no threshold model. This is a chart of radiation exposure versus harm risk in terms of excessive cancers over people who didn't receive that amount of radiation. The dots on the right, upper right hand portion of the curve come from the survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and some other cases where people received high levels of radiation. What the NRC, the AEC, and people around the globe have done is take those data points and draw a best line fit between that data and zero, where zero exposure means there's zero risk of harm. So they just drew a line from the data they had to zero. So that's the linear no threshold. It's assumed that if you double the amount of radiation exposure, you double the risk of harm. Likewise, if you have cut the radiation exposure in half, then you reduce the risk by 50%. With that in mind, there's still the NRC's regulations still allow radiation exposures to workers and the public. The limit for workers who are over 18 years of age is 5 rem per year. The limits for workers, nuclear workers under 18 years old, or for declared pregnant women is 1/10 of that, half a rem per year. Declared pregnant woman means that a female nuclear worker who is pregnant doesn't have to tell management that she's pregnant, and resulting in this lower radiation exposure applied to her. And the thought there was some female workers might not want to do that because that would pull them off of jobs where they might get overtime pay or promotions or other things. So it's up to the individual woman to declare or not the pregnancy. The last one for members of the public, it's 0.1, 1/10 of a rem per year, or 1/50th of what old nuclear workers can receive. The other term that the executive order doesn't like is low is reasonably achievable. That's a federal regulation that says you can't just go by the permissible radiation limits. When you can take reasonable steps to reduce the radiation exposure even further, as long as they're cost effective, you must do it. And those methods to reduce radiation exposure generally involve time, distance, and shielding. You reduce the amount of time individuals are exposed to radiation, or you increase the distance between a radioactive source and individuals, or you put some shielding between the radioactive source and individuals. And if it's cost effective, you're required to do it. It's not noted in the regulation that the plant owners do the cost calculation.